Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Murals in the Market Live. It is another beautiful Saturday out here, man. I cannot tell you enough. Come down here, check it out. Listen, I don't know. All week it was shitty. It was rainy. It was cold. I closed the windows. I almost turned the damn heat on the other night. Real talk. But I didn't. I held strong. And then look at this. It opens up and gives us this beautiful sky for another beautiful Murals in the Market. I just want to thank, first off, let's do the house cleaning every week. You got to go through and thank the previous guest. Man, Sade Okins, what's up? Sade, like, sorry, every now and then, like when I see somebody come on, I'm like, I got to get you. You're coming on, Sade. Oh, jeez. Anyway, let me get back from fanning out real quick. Oh, damn. Anyway, I got to thank Ryan Doyle last week. Man, that dude, we could have talked for 2 to 3 hours easy about everything in the world. We agreed on everything. We're both fairly conspiracy theorists. So he and I hit it off, and I got to ride the elephant in the room. So I just want to give a shout out to Ryan Doyle for last week. Thank you for that. But now it is time for this week's guest. Man, this dude right here. So I purposely leave a lot of questions out of the pre-interviews because I like to get surprised by stuff. And then today I just got my head all ready. Man, stop messing with me, Sade. Anyway, I just had my head blown. He's about to blow your mind, dude. We got Marlo Broughton here, man. He's and what's cool about today is not only is he live, but we're going to start off at his first mural that he did in 2015, and we're going to talk about this over here. And then while we're walking to his other mural, we're going to talk about all this jazz in between. So ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Give it up for Marlo. What's happening, brother?
Not much. How you guys doing today?
Man, I don't even know where to start, man. Okay, let's start with you. How did you get into art, man? Just tell me that whole story you just told me. I wish I could have just taped it, and you better deliver it the same way that you just delivered.
I'll try. So, I got started doing art probably when I was 4. My mom, she was a commercial artist, and she kind of always navigated me towards art when she noticed I had a lack of interest in a lot of other things. And so from her doing commercial art and then me inspiring to just kind of curate stuff, I got into doing graffiti very young in middle school. And my mom would actually was a real strong advocate of supplying my paint. She would drive around, be yo, I found a spot I think would be kind of dope for you to do. She was very as long as I'm doing decent in school, which I wasn't half of the time because it was kind of boring, but I would do it well enough where I could do what I wanted and get some perks with my mom, such as getting spray paint or other art supplies or getting breakdancing and graffiti videos at Mr. Rags. That was very popular in the 90s, early 2000s. So it's pretty cool that my mom kind of navigated that, and I think a lot of it was due to she had to give it up due to becoming a nurse to take care of my brother and myself and my sister. So I think that was the main thing that kind of keeps me going with art, because it's every time I do something, rather it's a doodle and text it to her, it makes her day. So it's a really good form of communication for my mom and I. I think that's what kind of made our relationship very strong over the years. And she also sees that I'm staying diligent with it.
Right.
And that diligence carries on to other things. So I think it makes her worry less about me. So I think that's the biggest advocate. But there's times where she was kind of you're doing trains and stuff. I don't even know where you're at. Because you're out here doing trains with with my crew that I formulated due to getting dropped off at this bridge in Battle Creek with my mom. My mom would just drop me off at this bridge by the Kellogg Center, and she like, just chill. I'll just chill in the car. You can do your thing. She didn't really want to be around the spray paint because she has asthma. So she's like, just do your thing. Just be careful. I'm in the car. Just come to the car if you feel, like you want to go or someone's trying to mess with you or something. But I ended up forming a crew called the Dirty Half Dozen. Then we had Operation Art Corps. Then we had Battle Kids Corporation.
So wait, how old are you at this time? Let's keep it in the timeline, because you left us at 4. You were like at 4, Mom was buying me paint. And so you're in middle school right now, forming your crews.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was like 4, I was just doing like, watercolors or like just like kid paint stuff. And then I got in, what really got me into graffiti? I was watching, I discovered Style Wars and Wild Style very young. So I think I was it had to be like the summer of me going into the 6th grade. Yeah. And I got really interested in it. And I think that's what really like kind of like sparked it, because it was seeing the transition from like paper, which I was as a kid just doing like primary colors and stuff, and like seeing that transfer onto like a wall and something bigger that's bigger than me, especially being a little kid. I'm small now, so imagine me then. I'm like here, and like I'm seeing huge walls, and then like I'm seeing people actually do it like around me. And I think that's what kind of really sparked it. And then also to be around other people who were like doing creative stuff, because I'm very introverted. I really didn't talk to people, especially as a young kid. I really wasn't about trying to talk to people or really be around other kids. So I think that's another thing when I think about it that drove it, because my mom would ask me, "Hey, did you talk to your graffiti friends today?" or stuff like that. Because if I didn't talk to anyone, I would just be at home. So I think that's what really drove me to paint. My mom's encouragement, like through everything. And then from middle school to high school, that's when I started doing, let me see. So I think about 9th grade. Yeah, end of 9th grade, transitioning onto 10th grade, in that summer in between. That's when I started doing trains. I was doing top to bottom trains with this kid named Sean Cubitt. And he was writing Surreal at the time. And I think I was writing like Cube or something for some reason. I was writing Cube. I don't even know why, it's an awful name. But I was writing Cube, and then I was writing with Surreal. And then the German exchange student in high school that my brother introduced me to, because he saw him throwing up tags on the dry erase board. My brother's like, my little brother's trying to do this thing, but he kind of sucks. So can you like show him? So my brother linked me up with all these kids in high school who happened to also be under the bridge. And then we kind of just formulated a crew instead. And then from there, just being really like immersed into graffiti and like the style, not even just graffiti, but like all the elements of like hip hop, from like DJing, producing, breakdancing, which was like something that's like very wholeheartedly for me. It was just being able to do things with your body that's like abnormal to some, like doing windmills and like doing like, anything like that. Like being successfully to understand myself enough to move like that was really important for some reason. I barely break dance now, every once in a while I do. But I guess like that whole like-mindedness of people that were in that genre or lifestyle, and how easy it was, and the diversity of all those people, I think that's what drove me to kind of like going past just graffiti when as I'm thinking about it now. So I think that was really dope, and I think that and how people are willing to teach me things, especially being a kid doing this, and they're seeing my mom drop me off, or like seeing my mom buy me paint, or dropping off paint. Sometimes she would drop off paint, in like a sandwich or something. And she said, "Be careful."
So you never got any pushback from like cats who are out painting, like, yo, dude's mom.
Everyone loved my mom. She's very lovable.
Right?
You know, that's the thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, she would let us, we lived in an apartment at the time, but she would let us like break dance to the apartment. She bought like the floor, the mat. Well, I can't think of the word right now. She went to Home Depot and she bought the flooring so we could
my brother?
break dance in the living room. And she would buy like Papa John's pizza and stuff before we found out, he was racist and all that stuff. It's like the early 2090s, so we didn't know he was like this. When my mom was ordering Papa John's.
Yo, let's keep it real. Papa
What?
John's used to
Papa
make a
John's
good
was
slice,
fire.
man. Like,
It was fire.
you know,
The
besides
cheese
the
bread.
racism.
The cheese bread is lit.
Yo.
With the garlic sauce.
I was gonna say the garlic sauce. They were the first cats I
For
ever
real.
messed with that came with that side
And
butter.
then you had the pepperoncinis that came with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was
Man,
fire.
see. So I feel you. I feel you, man. I'm not, like you said before, they were racist, man. You know what I mean? I dipped into it a couple of times. As far as delivery goes, it can't be.
You really can't.
You know what I'm
People
saying?
are not Papa John's and Hungry Howie's, but
I think we're getting a Hungry Howie's in Detroit. I thought I heard that.
we need. I know there's one like Ferndale.
Yeah.
But Detroit needs one, man.
They do need more chains, and people get mad when I say that. But anyway, all right. So
It's important.
it is important. It is in pizza. If you know me, pizza is always important. So when was your first paying gig?
My first painting gig, outside of doing graffiti, was, I think it had to be like 9th grade.
9th grade.
Because this like church down the street from like my school, they had like this little cafe thing. Have you ever seen like that show like Seventh Heaven?
Yeah.
That's what that church was like, and they had, they're trying to make it hip for the kids. So they had this little cafe thing, and I think my art teacher got me the gig because she tried to teach me very early. She's like, you should get paid for what you do. Don't let people tell you not to because you're gonna end up a teacher. And I was like, man, that's deep.
You'll end up a teacher.
Yeah.
Wow.
She didn't want to be a teacher.
Wow.
That's what she ended up having to do.
That's
But she,
crazy.
Mrs. Dazelle, she was really dope. God rest her soul. She was really, really creative. Really creative. She was really cool. Very open. And she was real. She was 100% real.
Sounds like it, dude.
She was my art teacher from 9th grade to senior year. So she was the only art teacher we had like in my school. It was a very small school. And she taught us about like our acid trips and like creating and stuff like that. So it was really cool. But she told me, 9th grade, she's like, don't do this for free. And you're going to have a lot of problems that you're going to have to overcome with it because how people see and value art.
Right.
But as long as you know, don't do this for free. So she got me a painting gig to do like the sign work for this logo, sign work for this church, the cafe logo. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was like a teacup, and it had like a cross in it instead of like a stirrer. It was pretty whack, but I did it though. It was my first like $400 I made on myself.
What'd you do with that 400?
Wasted it.
Right.
I think I got like a Dreamcast.
That's not a waste though.
True, it wasn't a waste. But
I mean,
I think I
if you had a
could've
Dreamcast,
diversified my money a little bit further because I got like the Dreamcast, which is like a good majority of it.
Yeah.
And then I got some games. And then I think I just got snacks. I remember I was really obsessed with like orange cakes, peanut M&Ms. I was really into Slim Jim for some reason.
listen, mate. First
But
of all, you're like in the 9th grade,
I know.
so you can throw out like financial responsibility
But my
at
dad
that
wasn't
time.
about that.
I mean, I get it. I get it, but you're allowed to. I feel like
True.
this. You're allowed to blow like your first, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. As long as it's not all. I mean, $400 you could throw that because you're gonna make it back. You know what I mean? But I feel that
I
I'm
had
not
real obligation.
right. You know what I'm saying?
But
I'm not.
My dad did ask me. He's like, "So what happened to that money?" It's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
My dad thing. He was like, "The bank of dad. He holds onto your money. And then I had to like write a proposal how I wanted to spend this money with my dad. So that's what my dad did. My mom was on other thing. She's like, just don't waste all your money. That was her advice.
Hey.
But my dad would be like, Marlo. And his name is Marlo. So I was born on my dad's birthday.
You were born on your dad's birthday?
Yeah, 2 months early, so I'm named after my dad. So he's like, Marlo, Junior, little fella, I need your money. And you're going to write a proposal what you're going to spend this on. Because I got to teach you, like, financial responsibilities. But when I got that $400, I didn't let I'm saying? I let my dad know after the fact. Like, hey, no about, I'm saying? Drink cash. Got some peanut M&M's, boy.
Right, you handed him, you were like, here, have an M&M.
Yeah.
Enjoy. I paid for these.
My dad doesn't even eat candy. I think he eats, like, honey buns here and there. But he wasn't going off of that. He's like, man, next time, at least put 100 away.
True. I mean, that's real. That's real.
But, that's when I was like, okay, next time I do something, which was like years and years later, when I got out of high school, I remember that though.
Right. Right.
So
I was gonna say,
blow all my money.
On the next one, you put a little bit. All right.
And I had to. I was going off to college.
Okay.
So I was thinking a little bit more calculated with how I'm presenting myself and how I'm doing art and how to make money from it. So that lesson definitely helped within the future, because I feel like some people don't get those type of lessons.
Yeah.
Or some people literally just kind of doing art for art's sake and not getting compensated for their time.
Right.
Which isn't cool.
So no, that's dope that you learned at a very early age, because I usually ask that question later. But there is a business into all of this, man, because a lot of people don't understand. Like, they think people just paint because it's a love, and I get that it is a love, but if you're a grown-ass man, dude,
right.
You got bills to pay.
It's expensive to paint. Spray paint's like $10 a can. How you gonna do that for free?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now.
Right.
You don't need 10 cans. That's a peso.
And they don't even think about the paint. No. They just think about the entity. When I talk to people, they're like, how much is it? I'm like, dude, you got to talk about size of, how does that negotiation begin? Like, when somebody comes to you, how does it go for you when you do that?
I say back in the day, I definitely probably downplayed myself a little bit just to make the sale. As I am 33, I charge whatever I want to charge, even want to buy it or not. Sometimes, due to COVID, I've been a little bit more lenient, because I just know a lot of people trying to live their lives and also trying to stay protected. And financially, a lot of people aren't doing well. We like to think we want to live in this delusion that everything's fine right now, but it's not.
Right.
Over 33% of Michigan or 40% of Michigan's like facing evictions. Things aren't fine. So due to COVID, I've kind of been, if someone wanted something and I gave them the quote and they come back to me later, oh, that's a little bit too steep. Maybe I'll knock like $100 or $50 or negotiate to do something smaller for them.
Right.
Just because your mentality to keeping your mental health up right now is very important to do. So that's what I've been doing with operating COVID. But on a normal circumstance, whatever the price is listed, that's what it is.
Right.
Take it or leave it. And it's not even about if I'm attached to it, if I like the piece or anything like that, which some artists do. Be like, well, I like this piece more than this piece.
Right.
So this piece, which is the same size, put the same amount of time, is $300 compared to this one piece that I absolutely love. That's $1,000. You just need to price it, as if you think of assets, So when I'm selling a painting, if it's not more than my rent, then I'm not going to sell it. If it's not going to cover, each painting should cover a bill, and each painting should be able to put money into your savings. So that's kind of how I think about it.
I like that, man. I like that. That's an easy way to really put it into perspective.
Yeah.
That piece should pay my rent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the way we got to think about it, man, in these days.
Yeah, if you want to go on a trip, then say if you have 4 paintings, 2 paintings go to your bills, and then the other 2 paintings, put that towards your funding your trip, so you don't have to dig into like your actual savings or like any other money. So that's kind of like how you should think about it. Everything should be an asset.
Well, stop, man. You're giving too much game up, man. You're giving way too much game up for free. We might have to charge for this because I hope the kids are listening, because like a lot of the times these are the questions that I get are like, how much do artists charge, and like this and that, and I'm like, look, each artist has their own way of doing things, but you're one of the first to really put it in perspective on how you can really come up with the number. A lot of times people are like, well, it's about your time or what it's worth, or like what you put in. Like you said, you like the painting, but no, you that's dope, man.
You gotta live, and you want to be able to make more stress with less stress. Everyone's gonna have stress. I never say anyone's stress free. Even billionaires are stressed. So you want to have the least amount of stress. So when I'm making something, I want to know that I'm also taking care of something. And then, as my friend told me, once you charged that price once, you can charge it again.
Yep. So
you don't need to be afraid to name your prices and stick with your prices, especially if you have certain accolades behind you. Like thankfully, I have Interstate Gallery, 1X Run, Playground Detroit, who's also been like a very important vehicle.
Absolutely. Shout out to Paulina. Hell yeah.
My career. They got me the Detroit movie gig. So I did I did 3 banners. One of them wasn't up. We just did a safe because we had speculation that one of them were going to get taken down, because they had like the police in the background, and they had one of the characters of the movie with his hands up, and I put red circles around his hands to show they had nothing, even though they're so quote unquote catching red-handed. And then I had another one on the side of the building on Grand Boulevard. So that was like a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
One, that Paulina and Samantha believed in me so much to contact me to get me on this like major, motion picture, to do art promotion for it, to create something with no, with all the freedom I needed. Actually, they just gave us a private screening of the movie, and then they're like, make something for the movie to put on a building. And I didn't know how big it was going to be or anything. And then one day they sent me like the PDF. I was like, oh, this is going on this building? Like, this is crazy. This is wild.
Wow.
So that like really drove me, really solidified a lot of things for me. I think just not even in the Detroit, but just as like an artist in general.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of stuff that's in your CV. So like Murals in the Market, who Rick connected me with Rula, and Rula reached out to me, looked at my portfolio, believed in me enough to have me paint a mural. It was a very overwhelming thing. My first one in like a festival. It's a mural festival.
This one.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. So this is 2015. What?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
How did I think of this? So I think around 2015, I was doing more cartoon kind of illustration pieces, and I remember I was just thinking about my cousin Gerard. I think around that time, I think his house got broken into, and they stole a lot of his sneakers. He had like all the Jordans.
They always do that, bro. When they break into your house, they always get your sneakers, dog. Like every collector I know. But they know, they just watch you bring them in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, he lives on Abington. So that's like Warrendale, which it was called back in the day. But he always had sneakers since he was a kid.
way more than me. I never really cared. I think I had a pair of Jordan 2s, and I was cutting the grass in them. I didn't like so it wasn't a thing for me. I wasn't like super big. I always wore like Converse and Vans, stuff that people weren't going to jack, and I wear 7.5. So it was like no one's wearing my shoes except for like a baby. But I was just thinking about that when I made this the illustration, and at the time for Murals in the Market, I really didn't know what I was going to paint. I was just kind of going through stuff, and then I looked at this one. I was like, you know, a lot of people could resonate to like hoop dreams, you know, whether it's actually being a basketball player or having the latest, you know, a sneaker. But there's people who literally have like lost everything trying to you know, look the part or play basketball, or, you know, most people think there's only one thing black men can do is play sports, and that may not be a dream for everyone, but a reality that some black men accept because it's something that will give them some type of respect. And I also was just thinking about like the Jordan Wolf Grays, which is like one of the first shoes that people were like getting killed for, which was just kind of ridiculous to me. So that kind of what inspired this one. Originally it was going to be on a different wall, but then I got moved, so I had to like adapt to this wall. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, but that's just me. There's a lot of things I wish I wish it was more cleaner. I wish I had I probably was a little bit more anxious and overwhelmed, that's more than I thought, and I did, you know, you could kind of see it after. But surprisingly, a lot of people really like this mural though. Me, I don't, but I'm me, and I made it. So
right.
I maybe like 1 or 2 pieces I do a year. But I was really accomplished something doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And it really helped build my confidence. And doing Murals in the Market, it's like being a musician and going on tour, you know. So there's a lot of people watching.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physicalities to it, like climbing a scaffold, you know, carrying paint, working the sprayers and all that stuff. It makes you think of even further than art, but like your health and maintaining your health to continue to do something. So I think this was probably one of the biggest and best experiences I had. Because before then, I was just doing, I was helping City Year in Chicago rehabilitate schools. In every school, I would do a mural. So I did like 5 or 6 schools in like 1 year in Chicago, and I was doing murals in each school. And I also was doing like group murals for like kids. So if kids were like, if one kid had a problem with another kid, I'll make them like paint this thing. So I would specifically ask for like kids who are having problems with each other, so they could work together, and they end up being cool. So for me to kind of like go from doing that, which was like easy and more like flawless and calculated for me to do, then to actually have to adapt to not even just like my wall changing, but adapt to like the environment of people like speculating and like asking you what you're doing, and you know, doing something other than just like writing letters or like small characters on a train or a wall to get in and out. So this was really cool, and I'm very thankful that I was, you know, invited to do that. And I think that's another thing that kind of like solidified me prior to like being connected with like Finally Famous and like Big Sean and my cousin Tommy Walker.
We're gonna get into that when we walking. Come on, let's start walking, because this doesn't end here. So that was 2015.
Yeah.
So I love how when we live in Detroit, we just tend to drop stuff like, you were like my cousin, Big Sean, and you just talk about it like they're regular cats.
Yeah.
Because in real life, to us, they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just kick it. But let's go to your cousin.
Okay.
So first, you ain't got to talk too long, but
yeah.
Who's your cousin?
So the thing about that, so I was introduced to my cousin by Earl Mack and D Wright and Big Sean. So I didn't know Thomas was my cousin until like 6 months after working with him. And around that time we were just doing all of like Sean's like mixtapes in this winery building in Farmington.
Okay.
So it would be like Sean, Mike Posner, John Conyers, Earl Mack, Gumbo, Fade Ain't Tone, Zeno, Vito. Who else would come through? My boy Chris Newland, who was a really dope singer and songwriter. Dante Marshall, also known as Dante Digital. We were all just in this winery building all the time. And then like 6 months after working there, my cousin and I found out, Thomas and I, at that time we found out we were cousins because I had an article at the Wayne State student program like paper, so the Wayne State like college paper. I had a article and I mentioned that. And my grandfather, my granddad Earl, was like, yo, that's TJ. I was like, who's TJ? He's like, Thomas, that's your cousin. It's like last time we saw him, he was like 2 or 3. He's like, that's your cousin. I'm his uncle. I was like, I never knew that. He's like, well, you did, but he was like 2 or 3. And then my granddad Earl called him, and my cousin Thomas was like, oh, granddad. He was like, Uncle Earl. And I was like, yeah, that's my granddad. And then from there, it just kind of like blossomed into like, oh, this is crazy. Like,
So you keep saying Thomas.
Yeah.
But it's Tommy.
Yeah, so
Stop, you beating around.
So Thomas is, Thomas Walker. But his he also goes by Tommy, Tommey, which is what he uses for his label, and like that's kind of like his I wouldn't even say like the stage name, but it's the name that he likes to go by. But I call him Tommy.
So Detroit versus everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See how he kept beating around, like he just didn't want to like give it up, like. So he's doing his thing out here. He's connected through Rick and his cousin to Rula, and then we end up at Murals in the Market. But you, in that same conversation, dropped another name.
Yeah.
So you've been fucking with Big Sean.
Yeah.
So tell that story.
So, 2007, I got a Facebook message from Earl Matt, and he wanted a chain design. So I had like some drawings I did on Facebook or whatever, and I think I did. I think I might have did like, this is like even before I started like kicking it with them like that. I think I did like the anime like version of Big Sean and like the capsule corp, like I think it was like the capsule corp or kind of like the Sonic the Hedgehog like spaceship that Dr. Robotnik is on. I did like anime of that, and it had Sean in that, and he had like a big shirt on and stuff like that. And then I think he saw that, and then he hit me up, and then he's like, yo, come to our show at the Masonic Temple called Break Bread. So I went to Break Bread at the Masonic Temple. Earl, he gave me a ticket, and he introduced me to Sean and everybody. And he's like, yeah, this is Marlo. He's an artist. He does like graphic designing and stuff. He's going to design a chain for me. And I ended up really designing a chain for him. And like everyone was wearing it at the time. So like sometimes you see Earl with it, or then sometimes you see Conyers with it. Sometimes you see Gumbo with it, or sometimes you see Say and Tone with it. Like everyone had it at a point in time. It was pretty cool, And then from there, they just brought me in to do like work on album mixtape artwork with Thomas or Tommy, and I would do a lot of like the sketches or like the blueprints for what it's gonna look like, because a lot of it was photos. So I did a lot of the rendering before we took it into Photoshop, or like before we, went to the studio and we had like Sean crowd surfing on people. I did like the storyboard for it, So so we could like execute it due to the amount of time Sean had. You know, he's always constantly working. So we had to like formulate a plan to kind of like get things through. So a lot of that, honestly, I think having that relationship with my cousin who went to Cass Tech, you know, and knew Sean and them longer than me, and having that, and then just like Earl and Jay John and like everyone always been really authentic and genuine. I think that's what kind of like, you know, propelled that relationship.
Shout out to Jay John.
And I think another thing too, as I'm like talking about it, I never asked for anything. I feel like some people see people in positions and then they ask for much, or like if they're not somewhere beyond where they are at, for some reason they get like animosity or they like kind of get upset about that. None of that stuff really mattered to me because I just generally never cared. I never really cared about fame or like doing anything like that. I think that's another reason why a lot of people kind of like gravitate towards me, mess with me, because I just really don't care. I figure if you just do what you're doing, some type of recognition or something's gonna come. Even if that just pays my bills for the rest of my life, that's fine. So I think having those genuine relationships is something that was more important to me than like other things. And then honestly, like, you know, time has been there through like all my ups and downs in life. And he always like believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. He's always someone who believed in me. Like this is outside of like my mom, you know, and my uncle, and like, you know, a lot of my intermediate family and stuff. He was also someone who understood even when I didn't understand.
Right.
So I think that was something that was very important too.
So even before Sean, once again, there's a backstory. You dropped, man, you've been kicking it. You were in Chicago kicking it with some cats out there that was heavy. So talk about that business.
All right. So that's kind of interesting because that kind of happened very organic and naturally. So when I was living in Chicago, I kind of moved there on a whim. One day I just woke up and I had like, I don't know, maybe $400 or $500 in my bank account. And I bought a one-way ticket. And then I just kind of was like, you know, doing my thing, trying to figure it out. And
on $400 or $500.
Yeah.
Well, actually less that, minus the plane ticket.
Right. Minus the ticket, minus like, I didn't have a place to stay. So I was like, there's a hostel in Lincoln Park. People don't understand. So I'll stay there sometime. I knew some cats that I did graffiti with. And sometimes they let me stay at their place. And then my boy Mike, he moved down there. And I didn't know he moved down there. But one day I was just out doing my thing. And my boy Mike, who I was working with on this thing with this guy named, what was it called? I think it's called Dr. Kenobi. He was doing all this like weed memorabilia or whatever. I did like a sticker design for him, like some graphic t-shirts and stuff. But my boy Mike was doing it, and that venture was just kind of weird. But he left it, and I left it Chicago. But one day, I ran into him. He was like, yeah, I live here now. And then Mike was like, yeah, if you ever need a place to crash, just come to my place. So I was staying at his place until I found a place, and we were just like watching anime and stuff. But in between all of that, when I started to actually get my footing and I started to work, I'd run into this guy. He always had 2 watches, and he was really cool. But I always remembered him because he had 2 watches, and I'd run into him like every other day. And then one day, I was leaving work, and I think I just recently got fired from one job. And then I maintained my other job. So I think that day I got fired from Blick Art Supply because, which is funny, because I got fired due to this girl kept coming in trying to get my schedule. It was really weird.
What?
Yeah, it was really weird. She liked
myself and this kid named Adrian, we both got fired in the same week. And the manager was like, yeah, there's too many people coming in, like asking for your schedules and not buying stuff. I was like, I didn't even know these people.
What?
But that's how I got fired from Blick. And Adrian got fired the following week. He was like, yeah, man. He was like, yeah, I got fired for the same thing. I was like, man.
I ain't never heard of no shit like that,
Yeah,
man.
and I also just think she didn't like us. But I think the fact that, you know, these girls are coming in asking about when we come, like when we work and not buying stuff, but just coming in asking when we work. So I think that was the problem. So, yeah, that's hilarious. But she didn't know I had another job. Because I didn't tell her that. I didn't tell my Blake manager at the time I had another job at H&M on Michigan Ave. So she thought it was going to faze me. But she didn't know when she fired me. I was like, oh, I could just call my other manager and go in early. So I just went to work. And I got in early and I got off early. And then this same guy I'd always see who would come into Blick. He had 2 watches, super cool. He was just always talking to me. Just like, yeah, you know, he's like, yeah, Chicago's great. You know, he just told me where to go, and stuff like that. And I would just constantly go to places, you know, St. Alfred's, I was in Wicker Park all the time. Yeah. Leaders, Juggernaut, shout out to St. Millie, because he was the first person to buy me Chicago-style pizza when I moved to Chicago. He saw I was broke. I think I spent my last like $10. And St. Millie was like, I can't have you, it's like, you're my boy, I can't have you going out like that. He's like, I got you. And he bought me pizza, and then he gave me like $30 less until I got like paid.
Nice.
Yeah, and we've been tight ever since. But the guy at the time, he was just a guy. Now he's like my brother, Anton, and his twin brother, Anthony. We came really close because I would run into him all the time at all these events. And then one day, I was leaving H&M, and he was in his 1963 and a half Galaxy. And he's like, yo, you ever been to Whole Foods? I was like, I have not been to Whole Foods. And he's like, roll with me. So I jumped in the whip. And we went to Whole Foods. And then that day on, I saw him every day. I barely was taking the train at that time because he would just pick me up. Or he would meet me. And would just like do our thing.
Right.
And then he introduced me to, you know, a lot of people are like my brothers now, you know, like Nigel, Hollywood Holt, Mano, my boy Mello, Kamal, my boy Paul, Jen, like all these like really, you know, inspiring and genuine affluent people who really don't talk about themselves. And I think that's another thing. We don't really talk about ourselves. We just kind of just do our thing. And we're all accepting. I think that's a thing too. But they actually were the first people to take me to New York also. They introduced me to a lot of people. But as I got to really hang out with them and stuff like that, I really started to understand more how they operate. And that's when I learned about Treated and Treated Crew and how they operate and how it's like a brotherhood and how everyone kind of looks out for each other. Everyone encourages each other. Everyone supports each other. Whether it's emotionally, seeing a painting that you made and wanting to buy it, you know, stuff like that. Which doesn't happen in all like friend groups. Like there's people I know who paint all day, but like their friends or family don't really encourage that, you know. They always made sure when I moved to Chicago, made sure I like talked to my mom and all that stuff. Like they really were like my older brothers. They are like my older brothers, you know. So it's really dope to have that. And they introduced me to like Timbuktu. He ended up being like a really great friend to me, very genuine. I remember the first time I met him was at the beauty bar at his Timbuktu place. He was spent, and I told him salam, you know, because I'm Muslim and he's Muslim. I told him salam, and he stopped what he was doing. He said, you know, wa alaikum salam, my brother, and he dabbed me up, and then he said, just chill anywhere. He's like your family. And like that, those type of things, like people being from Detroit and having like my family, who I'm really mainly around like my cousins and like a very small group of friends, to be somewhere else and have that same feeling was just amazing. and they literally were doing the same things that I were doing. And they would also, whenever I felt down or like slighted of what I'm doing, they always encouraged me to do more.
Yeah.
So like to this day, Anton and Anthony and like everyone says, remember, you're an ironclad artist. You're not trying, you're doing.
Yeah.
And those are same, things I was getting here to there.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy,
So now, man, like I said, these interviews, let's move over here. These interviews are so good, man, because I could talk and talk and talk and talk for hours and hours. So I think we're going to move it and start doing like an after thing on the internet, which I've been tossing by Paige and everybody. Hopefully she's listening. So, but we've been going for 45 minutes already, man. Let's get into your newest mural as part of Murals in the Market. Let's talk about this guy. So what year was this?
So this was 2020 now?
Yep.
So this was 2018?
18?
Yeah.
Yep. What is the significance of the numbers?
Yeah, so 13, 3, and 23 is Treated Crew.
Okay.
So this actually is a painting of my boy Nigel. He had an album. He was a
Go ahead.
former artist for Good Music. So he was signed to Kanye. He grew up with Kanye and like Virgil and everybody like that. And I really liked his album artwork. So I had no idea what I was going to paint for Murals in the Market. So I just made my rendition of his album, and then I just painted it, and then I sent it to him, and he had no idea I was going to paint it. So this actually is a painting of a friend of mine who had a new album that came out called Bloom from Doom, and this is my take on the album artwork.
This is amazing, man. And what made you just choose to go black and white on this one?
I personally like working with black and white more so than color, and I kind of just decided to really just do my thing and not worry about what anyone else is doing. Sometimes I would operate in, doing color work due to people buy color work, and then I kind of got more confident in my work and decided I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And that was like a huge turning point for me as not just an artist but as a person, having like full confidence in myself and what I'm doing. And it was received very well compared to even like my last mural, my first mural. So like with that, getting that much applause and like people really impressed by what I was doing. Even though it's very simple. It looks very simple, but it's also very complicated at the same time. So I think being able to do something simple is often more complicated than doing something that's detailed, and be able to strip that down. And I feel like it's something I do very well. So that was like the main reason why I wanted to do the black and white. And then honestly, like the album itself has a lot of sentiments of society and being of color and dealing with certain things. So I feel like there's not much gray area in America. It's very black and white. So that's another reason why I do like the black.
That's dope, man. That's a dope way to look at it, man. Very black and white. So, what is in the future?
In the future,
What's going on? Well, actually, let's not get there yet. I'm not even gonna cut time. What's happening right now? What are you doing right now?
I just did like I'm doing like a campaign with Saatchi Art. So they had me as like an emerging artist. So I just did like a interview and stuff with them. That'll be online soon. I've been talking to my boy Zeno about doing like a mural for Sean's new album.
Man.
So we're working on that. What else have I been doing? Just creating as much original artwork as possible, and hopefully I have like a small like virtual show. So I'm trying to figure that out with Playground Detroit. I'm proposing something. So that's like kind of what I'm like doing with my time now.
in my main goal is to kind of take images and re-image history to make it relevant again, because there's a lot of photos that we see from civil rights and like Black Panther movement, anything Black culture, 90s to civil rights. Like there's a lot of images that are just lost, and people that we as someone of color I'm finding about now.
Right.
I didn't know there were so many Black inventors. I didn't know there's so many Black women activists. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. So to bring that back in the forefront, I feel like it's what I need to do with my artwork. Because it's easy to make anything aesthetically cool, but to actually do that and make people pay attention and listen again is really important. So outside of doing that, I also have been capturing my feelings with COVID and all the injustice through art. So I've been learning how to, I guess, emotionally paint myself. So I see sound, and I'm noticing that I also see my emotions. So when I'm making art, I'm not seeing my emotions, I'm seeing my thoughts. So I'm hearing what's on TV and seeing what's on TV, and now I'm translating those things into my art. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I'm doing, and I'm trying to do it in a way where I get the most visibility and the most support. So I'm really trying to think hard conceptually of what I'm trying to convey, so I don't have much room for comments.
Understood, man. That's dope, dude. That's dope. So now, where can we support you? Where can we get some of your art? Talk to us about that, man, because we always want that to come around. Once again, we want people to understand it's a business, man, and people need to survive. So where can we support you?
Mainly, I do most of my work through Instagram. I'm remodeling my site right now, and that's also linked on my Instagram. But mainly through Instagram is like the easiest way to contact me. I reply generally pretty quick. So that's like my main bread and butter, man. It's like a free portfolio, really. And that's where most people are at.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like I would be doing myself a disservice if I did it.
Yep. No, absolutely. And then last but not least, if for the kids out there, man, that are thinking about getting into this game, what advice would you give them?
I would say do it. Really. Don't limit yourself by the boxes that people try to define you in, and express yourself. Even if you don't like, even if you try and you don't like it, at least you tried. Now you can go on to the next thing. That might be your thing. That might be a voice for you. Try as many things to get your voice across and to relieve any mental and physical stress, because it's important, especially as being a Black person in America. We need that outlet.
Yep.
It's not good to like hold it in. So if you could use art or anything creative or anything, just kind of release those tensions so you don't be ill-minded like the person who's being ill-minded. You gotta keep yourself level.
Brother Marlo, thank you very much, man. This is every damn week I always say this is one of the best ones I've ever had, because I don't know if y'all are watching them and like trying to get better, but brother, this is easily one of the most intuitive and one of the most connected ones I've had, man. So I can't thank you enough for coming out and doing this, man. Thank you again, brother. All right, everybody, that was Marlo Broughton, brother. He made me keep my mask on. That's how impressive this was, man. I forgot I had a mask on the whole damn time. Thanks again. Every Saturday, 11 a.m., Murals in the Market Live, coming from Eastern Market. If you are not watching this or telling your friends to watch this, you are, I don't want to pull a Joe Biden and say you ain't black. I'm not going to say that. But you want some shit if you are not watching this and telling your friends and family to watch this. This is the only place that you are going to get the insight that you get from the artist. All right, so you gotta watch this shit. That's just how it is. Now, as usual, I'm gonna try to get some free art. No, I'm just playing. I got 5 on it, man. Shit. That's it, man. I'm going. I'm out of here. I know I was supposed to say,
Gang.
Murals in the Market. If you want to support artists, you can go to the One Times Run website, onetimesrun.com. Buy art there. Check out Murals in the Market to see what's going on with us. We also do tours of this shit, all right? That's the important thing. I be forgetting that. Is we do walking tours of Murals in the Market, and we do e-bike tours. So if you want more information on how you can do one of those tours, go to Ride Detroit, RIDetroit.com. Check out what we have going on there, or stop by Electric Avenue Bikes, 3613 Woodward. Say what's up to me. The phone number is 313-752-1186. Man, give me a holler. Let's go for a tour. Talk to y'all later.